What are the most common misconceptions you think older generations have about your generation?
Sure. I think some of the misconceptions that older generations have about younger generations is probably the fact that they think that the younger generation or the newer generation is too lazy or probably too reliant on technology and the new innovation that we have. But at the same time, I think it's important for them to understand how technology has evolved over time and then us to adapt accordingly.
Okay, so have you faced any challenges with communicating or relating with problems from older generations, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, I have multiple times, of course. It's more or less me connecting with them, for example, through communication platforms. I think older generations prefer like face-to-face communication rather than over text or over the internet, for example, or the new technology that we have evolved with. So I think at that point in time, it's important for us to adapt both to the technology and innovation accordingly.
Okay, how has technology influenced the lifestyle and behavior of your generation compared to previous ones?
I think, as earlier stated, technology itself, I think, over the past few decades has evolved in a massive way, I think, and has impacted our life accordingly. I think a few examples can be the mobile phone users or the social media platforms that we're using. So I think through that, probably the way we live our life has totally changed.
Can you suggest ways in which older generations can better understand or connect with your generation?
I think the best way for them to connect with us is probably through communication and try to understand one another or what their perspective is about life, rather than just continuously taunting them about things that they don't know about.
And is there anything you wish older generations knew or understood about your generation?
I think they should probably give us more time and try to understand how we look at the world or how we view it or how is it different than what they believe in.
How do you perceive your education and career prospects differently from older generations?
I think in the current status quo, what older generation used to think is probably the idea of how education is the only way for you to become successful. And I think at this point, for the newer generation, they tend to seek education in a way where they're becoming the best version of themselves. So they're not only educating themselves to get a job or to earn money, but also to learn or understand things that they're curious about.
What career paths do you think are most appealing to your generation, and why?
I think anything that gives freedom to a certain amount of freedom to these people, specifically things like, for example, digital art or software engineering, for example, right? Things like that gives you active freedom is probably the most appealing. I think when in older generation specifically, having jobs or pursuing degrees like becoming a doctor or an engineer, for example, I think it's important for you to break these taboos in societies, for you to become like more dependent and more free.
And what have you learned from interacting with people from other generations?
Honestly, I think it's not that bad to understand their perspective, because at the end of the day, they also want the best for us, right? So I think to also understand and take their advice while simultaneously also following our goals.